Hi, my name's Cameron Neylon. I'm a biological scientist, but I also have an interest in how we can use web-based tools to make the research we do easier. What I wanted to talk about today is how we can use article level metrics rather than just where a paper is published to make your life easier in deciding whether a paper is of interest to you, but also how by using tools that make it easier for you to collect these papers, that you can actually contribute back to those metrics and make it easier for other people to find the best papers that are out there on the web. So how do you decide which papers are the most important? What you really want to know is what's the quality of those papers. If I ranked these papers based on how important they were, then which ones would come up top? Public Library of Science is starting to try and do some of that. Here's a paper that I happen to be interested in. What you want is some numbers that give you a really clear and quick idea. So if we click on the Related Content tab, we start to find some things that might be useful. So for instance, how many times has this paper been cited? Now you get that in Google Scholar, for instance, but here you've got two different measures and then a link to Google Scholar, so you can compare that as well. We've also got some other stuff here. We've got a number of blog posts that have linked to this paper, but something that does give us some quick numbers that we might be able to use to compare different papers is the number of times it's been bookmarked by people on online bookmarking services. So here are two services, Conatea and Site You Like. They do similar kinds of things. I'm going to focus on Site You Like because I use it, and also because I think they've got a bigger user group. So 9 people, or 9 times, this paper's been bookmarked on Site You Like. So let's go through and see what that looks like. Site You Like is a service a bit like Delicious or a number of other things where you can bookmark web pages, except it's been built specifically for academic research papers. And there are other services like Conatea and other programs like Zotero that do similar things. If we scroll down, this is the record for this particular paper. You can see that 9 different people have actually tagged this paper. One of them happens to be me, so I'm going to click through to that and show you what my library looks like. You can see I've bookmarked 50 articles. So how is this useful to me? So why have I bookmarked these papers? So one reason is that it's an easy way to collect all the papers that I see on the web into one place. It makes it easier for me to keep track of things. And what it also does is through those tags and through finding other people who are interested in the same papers will help me find other papers. I can now go through and look at other people who've bookmarked that paper and see what kind of papers they think are similar to this one. So if I go through to Alison Lister's library, and she's got a tag called Data Standards, which seems like it's probably relevant. She's applied it to this paper, and I can go through and look at all of those papers. So you're using people to help you find other papers of interest, and you can use tags either for yourself or to share a tag with other people to communicate the type of content that you're looking at. So how do we get papers into these libraries? Well, there's a couple of very easy ways of doing that. If I go back to the PLoS page, there's 2 different ways we can do this. One is that PLoS and some other journals as well very helpfully added little bookmark things down the bottom. So this is Conatea, which I mentioned, Facebook, Stumble Upon. This one is for Site You Like, and this one is for Dig. So if you click on that, it will add the paper to your library automatically. Another way you can add these papers is through a bookmarklet. So for journals where they're not providing these nice little clickable icons, that if I click on that will bring up a window and then ask me where I'd like to file it. So this has actually got all the authors, it's got the title, it's got the abstract, it's got the journals, and it's just asking me to add some tags. So all I need to do is add some tags. 2 things you might not feel totally comfortable about. One is that it's all completely public. Now this is really good in one way because it means, for instance, you can track particular people. So if you think there's someone whose judgment you really trust, or you want to keep track of all the papers that your group is looking at, then you can get RSS feeds that will notify you when someone bookmarks a paper. And that can be really useful, but if you're not comfortable with other people having access to the papers that you're reading or the tags that you're giving them, then that might not be for you. The other thing that's not so great about the web-based systems in comparison to something like, say, EndNote, which a lot of people will use, is you can't use them to format papers with bibliographies. That's not what they're designed to do. The final bookmarklet here is for a service that starts to answer some of these questions. This is for something called Mendeley. So if I click through on that, this is my Mendeley library. So Mendeley in some ways looks very similar to Scientist. We've got a library here, we've also got tags, we've also got various other things that allow us to share it. So this is the web part of Mendeley. Mendeley has two parts. One is the web, and the other is actually a desktop program. So here you've got a desktop version of the same thing, which you can synchronize with the web-based library. If you've got the Windows version, obviously I'm running on a Mac here, but if you've got the Windows version, then you can actually use it to format papers in the same way as you would with EndNote. It's coming for Mac, it's not there yet. What Mendeley does is gives you more control over what papers you make public, what parts of your library you make public, or who you share them with. The other thing that Mendeley does is it lets you coordinate your library with Scientist, which is very powerful. So we've got some tools here that help you to bring papers that you're interested in together from the web, collate them together, keep them indexed, keep them coordinated. But the thing is that as well as collecting these papers for yourself, you're actually contributing to these metrics, these article level metrics, that will let other people decide whether these are good papers or not. And you're doing that in a way that's really fast and really rapid, is going to be really useful for the future. So I'd encourage you to use these tools, not just because they're useful to you, but also because by using them, contributing to the information that's available online, that makes it easier for other people to find the same papers again. And hopefully that's useful for everyone.